Okay, we're going to show you how to install the new version of the Second Yoke in your machine. We've made a few changes to the wiring. Check to see if you have the appropriate top circuit board. If you don't have this connector on your board, we're going to replace this. Now, as you can see, I've laid out the tools we're going to need. We have screwdrivers, wire strippers, wire cutters, a multimeter, and a small straight edge. You have all of your parts here. You have your Second Yoke, the truck that's going to go on the linear rail, the mounting block, your cables, and your secondary relay. Alright, so we're going to start by changing out this top yoke. You want to carefully remove all of your cables. And I've already removed some of the screws, but you're going to take out these small M3 screws from the top. And carefully release the flat flex cable by pressing on the retainer clip on the bottom. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this yoke, the primary yoke, by taking out these 4 screws. You're going to remove your mechanical stop screw, which is just a screw that protrudes from the rail to prevent the truck from going off the edge. There's a plastic keeper inside this that matches the profile of the rail, and as you slide this on, that'll just push it out, and that keeps the ball bearings from falling out. You want to make sure that the yoke, your existing yoke, has the appropriate mounting holes already drilled and tapped in it. Depending on the version, right now that's a single M4 hole, but there might be special circumstances where we have a different connector there. See, this gives you a little bit of adjustment in case there's any misalignments. I'm going to have the ribbon cable coming in here. We're going to come back to this one because we're going to be working with the other end of this cable inside the control cabinet in just a moment. Now make sure you don't mix these two up, because that will cause a short. The first two are already bringing up 12 volts in ground for the first yoke, so we're going to use the remaining cables to bring up additional 12 volts in ground. These are going to be our ground wires, and then the remaining 5 are going to be for the 12 volts. What you're going to do is you'll find that on the top of your cabinet, inside the control cabinet, this rainbow cable is tied up top with some cable ties. You're going to pull this down, cut whatever cable ties are in here. You also want to cut the cable ties holding your power supply cables in, and if necessary, just move any other cables out of the way temporarily. So you just want to find any 2 extra connectors. You should have at least 2 on the interface board in here, then you can have 2 coming to this board down here. The exact connector may vary depending on the version of the power supply you have, but as long as you have 3 or 4 conductors of both ground and 12 volts, which are the yellow wires, you're fine. You want to make sure that the yellow wires are on the side facing the relay. So we have this 4-pin connector here holding the ground wires. You're going to take this cable here. This is the control cable for the relay. If I can get it to go in there. There you go. You'll see that the yellow wire is on top for both and the black wire is on bottom. Check functionality. We're going to verify first that we have not made a short. Okay, so there's no continuity right now between the 12 volts and ground that we just plugged in. From any ground point to the leftmost pins on the header, and you see there is no continuity right there. So there's a ground pin, those are 12 volts, so no continuity. Double check the 5 volts on each one, just to make sure we didn't cross any wires anywhere. Okay, so now we are ready to plug the machine in and turn it on. Okay, so I've reinstalled or redressed all the wires in here. You notice I used the magnets to put the relay board on the side of the cabinet. We have our 12 volt cables going up to the yoke. We want to make sure that there is no 12 volts coming up when the emergency stop is engaged, and there is not on the secondary yoke, and we don't have it on the primary yoke, so that looks good. Release the emergency stop, and you can just check this on any of the yoke positions. So you notice that this head is in slot 2 of the first yoke, so it's going to be in slot 2 here. This one is in slot 3 of the third yoke, so it's actually going to be in 6, 7, 8 position, which is right there in the middle on 6 to 10. So
or 23.
Yeah, in your G code, it'll have a different, that will be the designation. Okay, so that's looking good. You got any questions? Contact Dave O. He will be happy to help.
Hyrel3D@gmail.com.